How long did it take you to understand that this was simply the regular, everyday reality for Palestinians? How long did it take for you to no longer be surprised by what you were
Few
hearing?
days, few days.
Wow.
Because look, I went to a, just trying to think, I went to a refugee camp, and I was speaking to a gentleman by the name of Munther. Just before that, I had spoken to some soldiers who were walking across an Islamic grave, with their boots, crunching through it and doing it on purpose. And I started to speak to them, and I got a bit of footage, and I said they're not real men because they were trying to tell me that I wasn't a real man if I didn't film. And they said we could shoot you from anywhere. And I said, okay, good luck. Do whatever you need to do. They've walked off. I'm interviewing Munther, who is quite a well-known activist, a Dahisha refugee camp. And then I hear this, and it's an M16 round that they had walked down around the corner and shot, not at me, but towards me, just to say, we'll take a pot shot. And during this interview, there's a mural of this young kid who was executed, 16 years old, coming home from school, had a school bag on, shot through probably, I don't know, 70 meters, 60 meters, maybe a little bit further. Big great door. But within that great door, there's another little door. Well, the gun comes through the little hole, and they shoot him through the heart and they kill him. So he's dead. His family, kids, because it's a community area. There's kids everywhere. But the soldiers come out at around 3:00, between 1 and 3, depending on what school and how old. That's when they're coming home, and so this is when they start to do this to intimidate them. Well, they put a mural up. A great picture of this kid. There's bullet holes in the picture. So, it's planned, because every time these kids go home, not only do they have the memory of their friend being executed for doing nothing, only being a Palestinian, they have to walk past the picture. This is what can happen to me. This is what probably will happen to me, because the chances are pretty high. I visited another Mohammed El Kurd. You may know this name. The El Kurds have become famous because of Jacob, who said that if I don't steal it, somebody else will. So I met him, and he was a kid. He was 14 or 15 or 16, maybe, where I first met him. And I knew that he was special. You could tell by the way he was speaking, and he would document. I was with a lady that could interpret for me, so he sort of opened up. It took him a while, because I'm definitely not an Arab. I'm more likely to be a Jewish guy than an Arab, and so it's sort of a bit standoffish. And his front of his house was taken. So for years and years, every year he'd come home from his birthday, the family would be starting to build, years after getting the actual permit for the house. The family would go down to try and get the permit, and they'd say, look, no, come back, we'll give it to you maybe next stage. Long story short, they finished the front of their house, the renovation. Israelis come over, lock part of the house up. Within a few days, there's a bus coming down the street, a whole lot of Jews, some from America, some from Israel. And there's footage of this. And you can see young Mohammed El Kurd. He was 12 years old documenting this. So it's out there. And they are dancing around in there, taking his home, East Jerusalem, Sheikh Jarrah. And he's now, he was voted, I think, like one of the most 100 or 50 most influential writers of people. He's brilliant. He gets labelled an anti-Semite. He gets called an anti-Semite for speaking out of a people that have taken his house, stolen his house, whose entire job, they'd only be in there for 3 to 6 months because they were supposed to be so noisy, loud, intimidating, so the old Kurds would leave. But he didn't leave. Now he's become somebody, which is fantastic. 100 metres up the road, there's another young guy, another Mohammed. He had just got out of jail because he stuck up for his... he came home and there were settlers beating his mother because there's a settlement very close. And so he went in and he got home and he was protecting his mother, fighting to get him off. He went to jail. The settlers didn't. And I said, what do you want to do? And he said, he's a funny kid. And he said, look, I want to be a doctor. But he says, there's no point, Rob, because even if I got my degree, where am I going to work? Because, again, it's impossible. It's impossible. So he's not going to bother. Then working another day, walking around, and I see a carriage load of cars and cars with flashing lights, people with balaclavas on. And I thought, Jesus, what's going on here? And this is the crew, the crew. It's the demolition crew. So they're coming, and they were there between 1 and 3. I can't remember the time, 1 and 3. I've got a photo of it. I've got a photo and of evidence of everything I've seen. I've got photos of it. And there's a family of kids, the young girls in the hijabs that just come home from school. And this is when they come to demolish their house. There was maybe 9 to 12 people living within this house and a half, all there with their school books and their school bags. And you're sitting there looking, and then so one of the guys I was talking to, he started off with a balaclava. He took it off at the end. I don't know if he was overly comfortable with what he was doing, but he knew that he had to do it. There was no ifs or buts about it. He had to do it. And so when you see a family like that, because they've got nowhere to go now, there isn't anywhere to go. The Israeli government don't say, look, we've demolished your house, we'll find a place. And people have the audacity to wonder why the Palestinians have an issue with the Israelis. I'm one guy walking around, no film crew, and I'm seeing all of this. It is an absolute disgrace that any Western government can allow this to happen. Any Western government. Nobody can possibly say that they don't know. Nobody can say these things. Nobody can say, I should have done something, because you can do something. It's the time. And we're sitting here now, October 7. And I've said this before, and I'm going to keep saying October 7 changed the world. Israel, it was the beginning of the end for Israel. It is the time that the world saw them for what they are. I saw them for what they are in a smaller amount in 2014, in the little sections. I'm not surprised at what they do here. By seeing these, the ones through the occupied West Bank, I can see exactly those guys doing the same thing throughout Gaza. And the world has woken up, and we will be sitting here one day and we will discuss how good the liberation of Palestine was, but why it took so long and why it took so much blood. Every single Palestinian person, every single Palestinian, every single one of them has to be remembered. Every drop of their blood is going towards the liberation of Palestine. And every single person that participated in it will never be forgotten. We will hold them to account. And anybody that hasn't spoken up, anybody that has ignored it, will not be forgotten either. That's where we're going. We just have to get there soon.